Welcome to the deep dive. We're diving into a company that's kind of a silent giant in finance, Marketaxess. They're all about electronic bond trading, and we're going to really crack open their annual reports, go way beyond just the numbers, and really get a feel for what makes this company tick. Now, you might be thinking, bonds. That's a little ugh. But trust me on this. We're not just talking about some boring figures on a screen, all right? We're talking trillions. Trillions with a T? That's how much money is flowing through this whole system, through the global economy. This is how governments get the funds they need, how corporations operate, and that affects every single one of us, even if we've never even thought about buying a bond before. Marketaxess, they've gone and built one of the biggest platforms out there for all this. They're connecting buyers and sellers from all over the world, every corner of finance.
We're talking about everything from those super safe U.S. Treasury bonds to like the more exciting high-yield bonds. They're even wading into the whole world of emerging market debt. So yeah, it's a lot. Which is why I've got an expert with us today to help break it all down. What I find really fascinating is how Marketaxess work. It doesn't just stop with them, It has this ripple effect on the entire financial landscape. What are your thoughts on that?
You're spot on about that ripple effect. You see, a lot of folks, they hear Wall Street and they think stocks. But the reality, the bond market, it's actually a much bigger deal in the grand scheme of the global economy. Think about it. Those bonds, they represent debt. It's how companies and governments get the money they need to function, to keep the lights on. Just the U.S. corporate and government bond market alone, that's worth over $45 trillion, according to SIFMA. It's mind-boggling. And here's where it gets interesting. Even for the average person, the efficiency of that market, how smoothly buyers and sellers can connect, that has a direct impact on how much it costs to borrow money. And you know what? That cost, it trickles down to everything. The interest rates you get on your savings account, business loans, which affects if they can expand, hire more people. It all ties back to this. Marketaxess, they're streamlining the trading of these bonds. They're like, they're basically greasing the wheels of the entire global economy.
Okay, yeah, I see how it all kind of fits together now. But let's get into the specifics of it all. How is Marketaxess actually, making this whole massive bond market we've been talking about? How are they actually improving it? Their annual report, it kept mentioning this thing, open trading. And it really piqued my interest.
Open trading. Now that's where things get really, really interesting. It's one of Marketaxess's, you could say, flagship offerings. It's completely changed how bonds are bought and sold. Picture this. It's like a virtual trading floor, right? But with more than 1,700 institutional investors all looking to make deals. But here's the catch. It's totally anonymous.
Hold on. Anonymous. What do you mean? How does that even work?
That's the ingenious part. See, even though all the trades, they are settled with, full transparency, but during the actual transaction itself, nobody knows who they're dealing with. And that anonymity, it's a game changer. It levels the playing field. Think about traditional bond trading, right? If a seller seems like they're desperate to get rid of a bond, buyers, they might try to lowball them, take advantage. But open trading, it gets rid of that whole problem. Everyone has to focus on the actual value of the bond, not who's behind it.
So it's like, what, a blind auction, but for bonds? That's actually really smart. It means everyone gets a fair chance.
Exactly. And that fairness, it doesn't just stay there. Because you get more accurate pricing, that means companies and even governments, they're getting fairer rates when they need to borrow money. They could be saving millions. And hey, who knows, maybe those savings, they'll trickle down to us, maybe in the form of lower interest rates on loans, stuff like that.
Now you're speaking my language. Wins for transparency and potentially our wallets too. I like it. But Marketaxess, they don't just stop at connecting buyers and sellers, right? They've got this whole data services thing going on, and it kind of sounds like something straight out of the spy movie,
Mm-hmm.
Giving their clients access to all this real-time information. It's wild. Can you tell me a little more about these, what did you call them, these insider tools like Composite and Access All?
Oh, yeah. Those are some of their coolest offerings, really. They tackle this big problem in the bond market, information asymmetry. See, traditionally, it's the big institutions, the ones with the most resources, that have the edge. They can gather and analyze all this data, But Marketaxess, they're leveling that playing field.
Okay, so maybe less James Bond, more like Robin Hood, taking from the information rich and yeah, something like that. The whole idea behind products like Composite and Access All is to empower any investor, no matter how big or small. So for example, Composite, it takes data from all these different sources, including what's happening on Marketaxess's own trading platform, and it gives you these real-time insights into bond pricing trends. Imagine being able to see where the market's going with way more certainty.
Wow, that sounds like it'd be incredibly useful, especially in such a fast-moving market.
Oh, absolutely. And then you've got Accessall. This one's focused on the European bond market. It gives you like a complete view of the liquidity and the pricing over there.
Yeah.
Helps you make those smarter trading decisions.
So you've got this platform for anonymous trading and all these data tools giving investors these incredible insights. It almost sounds a little too good to be true. You know, are there any challenges that market access faces?
That's a fair point. No business operates in a
Oh, all
vacuum.
right.
So even Marketaxess, they've got some stiff competition. You've got other electronic trading platforms, and then there's also, let's not forget, those more traditional methods, the phone-based trading. That's still huge, especially for those really specialized or complex deals, where it's all about those relationships, those nuanced negotiations.
Huh? I didn't even think about that. So even in this super high-tech world, sometimes it's still about picking up the phone.
Oh, absolutely. And then, of course, there's the whole regulatory landscape, which, let's face it, is constantly changing. The SEC especially, they're really keeping a close eye on this whole electronic trading thing, want to make sure everything's fair and transparent.
That makes sense. I get it. They got to make sure everyone's playing by the rules, right?
Mm.
So how does market access manage all of that, all those complexities?
One way they're doing it is by branching out. You're strategically expanding into new areas, emerging markets. That's a big one for them, debt in those markets. And then there's Euro bonds, too. Basically, they're not putting all their eggs in one basket, relying solely on the U.S. high-grade bond market.
So they're not just sitting pretty, they're constantly adapting and growing. And like market access is playing the long game here, which makes me even more curious about their leadership and all that. I mean, they had that recent CEO transition, which definitely caught my eye. Richard McVeigh, their CEO since the beginning, back in 2000, he steps down, and then Christopher Kincannon, he takes over early 2023. It's a big shift, Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, it really makes you think about like what's the long-term plan for market access, especially with this new CEO. And then their report mentioned something about shareholders keeping an eye on how executives are getting compensated, all that.
Right. Leadership changes always make you wonder, especially when a company's had the same CEO for so long. It'll be interesting to see what Concannon does, especially in such a, rapidly changing industry. And about the whole compensation thing, yeah, that always gets people talking. It's worth pointing out, though, Marketaxess got over 96% shareholder approval on their say on pay proposals, which says a lot. They seem pretty happy with how things are structured.
So the shareholders are on board. But what is their approach exactly? How does market access link compensation to, actual performance?
They're focusing on things like adjusted operating margin, market share, those sorts of things. The goal is to tie executive pay directly to the company's financial health, how well they're doing against the competition. It's all about making sure everyone's incentives are aligned, rewarding growth and efficiency, that kind of thing.
Seems like they're walking a tightrope there, trying to keep both their leaders happy and their shareholders, making sure everyone feels like they're getting a good deal, which I imagine is a constant balancing act, especially for a publicly traded company.
You got it. And it just goes to show, even in this world of algorithms and, trading happening at lightning speed, it's still those human factors, the leadership, who's making the decisions, the culture of the company, those things matter a lot.
It's pretty amazing to see how all those human elements, they're all intertwined with this cutting-edge technology that's market access bread and butter.
Yeah.
Really gives you a much more complete picture of the company.
For sure. And it speaks to how complex the whole financial world is. It's never standing still. Makes you wonder what we'll be talking about in a couple years, what new innovations will be shaking things up.
Now, that's an exciting thought. As we wrap up our deep dive into market access, it's clear they're leading the charge in an industry that's changing faster than ever. They're not just connecting buyers and sellers. They're literally shaping the future of how the global bond market works. We've seen how their open trading system prioritizes fairness and transparency, how they're empowering investors of all sizes with those powerful data services, and how they're navigating this tricky world of competition and regulation. But I think the biggest takeaway here is this. Even though technology is becoming more and more important, we can't forget about the human side of things, the people calling the shots, their motivations, the hurdles they face. If we really want to understand the forces shaping the financial world, we got to understand those human elements. And for those of you who want to explore this even further, we've got links to all the source material down in the show notes. Check it out. Until next time, keep asking those questions, keep exploring, and keep diving deep.